wondering why I'm taking my sweet time, I'm trying to get my hits not just on the 6-inch lollipop, like just wherever, but I'm trying to push the hits out to the edges because I want to be able to make sure that I am deciding where I'm hitting that target, not just hitting the target. Hey guys, welcome back to the range. Today I wanted to do a brief video for you on something that I read several years ago. For those of you who are new to the industry of firearms, welcome. I'm very glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're here at this video learning. In the world of firearms training, and really in the world of military, there is something called OODA, O-O-D-A, Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. And that was codified, if you will, by a guy named John Boyd. Now, this is where most people get John Boyd completely off the rails. John Boyd came up with OODA not when he was a fighter pilot, Korean War, Vietnam War, not then. He actually got it after he was done flying, after he was done working at the Pentagon, after he was done working on the invention of the F-16. Yes, that is his baby. I want to say he was already in his 60s, or at least in his late 50s, when he devised OODA, Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. This is a man who had studied Sun Tzu in multiple translations, The Art of War. And this is a man who was the originator of what is now modern air combat. And as a side note, he also changed Marine Corps amphibious warfare doctrine, which is why his life's work is archived, not at the Air Force, which is what he was. He was Air Force. It's actually been archived at the Marine Corps headquarters. So that says a lot about the man's work. The point of this video is born out of something that came recently out of class that I was teaching. And it was actually here, where I was working with 4 students and a friend who'd come out, but technically 4 students. And at that class, I realized that when it comes to the Overland course, which is what this portion right here is a part of, I can really only have 4 students anymore. For me to be able to instill information and give it to them in such a manner that that information goes from being knowledge to wisdom, I can only give it to them in a very distilled, focused manner, and I can't have a bunch of students for this particular course. And what it really boils down to is one of the things that I picked up from John Boyd's autobiography, which was, and actually it really wasn't an autobiography, it was more like a partial autobiography, but it was finished after his death, which really honestly are the better biographies, because you still have part of the person's own words in the book, and then the full completion of their life's work also in the book. It's a great book, guys. You guys really need to read this book. One of the things that was said in the book was, John said, you're either going to be somebody in life or you're going to do something in life. You're seldom ever going to have the opportunity to do both. And few of us reach that. Those of us who are parents later on in life, and I'm kind of getting there now, at 49 with 3 adult children, I'm kind of beginning to see the fruits of that. And I realized that it was far more important in my life to do something rather than to be somebody. Because those men who I know who were somebody in life have paid for that fame and fortune with their marriages. And I literally can see a Rolodex running through my mind right now of people who I emulated, who, and these are, I want to be clear, these are people that I physically know, okay? I know these men, and I wanted to be them. I wanted to be like them. And as I got to know them more over the years, I realized they've paid for that fame and fortune with relationships, marriages, sometimes with fortune. Man, today is Spiderweb Day. Wow. And I realized that it's better to do something in life than to be somebody in life. And that guides me in how I teach and what I teach. And because of that, I made the conscious effort to go back through and basically the Overland course, which I think there's like one left at this point for the year. The Overland course is now capped out at 4 people and 4 people only. Why 4 people? Well, it's really simple. If there's one student, and by the way, I no longer cancel classes. If one guy or gal signs up, we're training. If one student signs up for the Overland course, for example, then I'm shooting with them. So now we are a 2-man fire team. If 3 students sign up, well then I'm back out, and now I'm back to being the instructor again. So now we have a 2-man fire team, same as before. If 3 people sign up, now I jump right back in again, and we have a 4-man. We have a 2-man fire team, and we basically take turns moving up, taking point, moving back. If 4 people sign up, then I get to be instructor again, and we have 4 people shooting. So no matter what that number is, 1, 2, 3, or 4, I'm always going to be involved as student, instructor, and everything I do, because I've been a student so many times, 65 times to date and counting, because I've been a student so much, everything I do is a student-centric approach. Everything I do is student-centric. And to such a degree that some of the feedback that I got from my early classes from my students was, you need to be setting things up for the next drill instead of hanging out with the students. And I'm like, oh, that's painful to hear, but the guy was right. He was absolutely right. I am a student in my mind. I've always been a student, and I will always be a student. It's just how I approach things. I prefer to stand on that side than on this side. But the best way to learn something is to teach it, which is why I stand in front of this camera and teach to you guys at home, and why I stand in front of people here and I teach. My mentors are men who are either retiring or dying. It's a really painful thing to say, but I've gotten to the point in life where life has begun to take rather than to give. And I'm losing people. I'm losing my mentors. Some of these men are dying off, or at a basic level, they're retiring. And if you haven't taken enough time to drill in and get that knowledge from them, they're taking that knowledge with them. And I'll close with this. This actually brings something really good to mind. When Dave Spalding, who's one of my mentors, who is still with us, I'm glad you're still with us, Dave. When Dave Spalding announced, I guess it was 2 years ago now, that he was going to be offering a firearms instructor's class for the handgun combatives curriculum, I wanted to come out, but I, A, couldn't afford the cost of the class, and B, couldn't afford the time away from my job to do the class. It was a week-long class. And so the class was held, and shortly after the class being held, some person jumps on one of my videos where I was sharing some of Dave's curriculum, and the guy, I'm assuming by his snotty manner, said, well, did you attend the, what was it? Did you attend the instructor's course, which is what gives you the authority to teach this stuff? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So now that Dave Spalding finally offers an instructor certification course, now all of a sudden, no one on the planet is allowed to share his knowledge with anybody else unless they have the credential that makes them a handgun combatives instructor. And to that guy, you know what I did? Ignore, and I went to the next comment. Seriously? Folks, there is this mindset in every industry, but I'm going to stay in my lane, which is the firearms industry. There's a mindset in the firearms industry that unless you hold some kind of a piece of paper that gives you teaching credentials, that you can't possibly share your knowledge. Guys, right now, there are 2 guys that just popped into my head, neither one of which holds an NRA instructor cert or even an instructor. Actually, no, 3 men have now popped into my head. That they don't hold NRA certs and they don't hold instructor certs from anybody. But because they have been a student so many times in their life and have had to apply what they've learned, that when they teach, you can see knowledge flowing from them. Guys, I've been a student so many times, I can stand or sit in front of an instructor and I can either see a river of crap flowing out of their mouth or a rainbow of knowledge flowing out of their mouth. And yeah, I said rainbow. With ponies. With ponies! Ponies, you know what, even better, unicorns. Unicorns flying out of their mouth with rainbows in their wings, okay? There are some instructors who are so good at instructing and teaching that the moment they open their mouth, you're like, knowledge is about to be laid down in front of me. And that's when you just start feverishly writing. And I've had the privilege, the honor, the chance to do that, to sit there and get knowledge from these people. So once again, in closing, I say to you, you're either going to be somebody in life or you're going to do something in life. Pick which one it's going to be. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out in practice. Have a good one.